Jason, sold the land, and we were having some technical difficulties the last couple weeks with my camera. Seems to be working. My phone is a no-go of posting videos. It's just not working out for me. So hopefully this works and we're back in it. I thought I planned it right when I bought 1,000 pounds of feed for our meat birds, but it looks like it's about done. Alright, we have 2 weeks left with these guys. I think I need one more 50-pound bag of feed for them. So I miscalculated by one bag with that 1,000 pounds of feed. I think one of the reasons why I miscalculated on the feed, like why I need to buy one more 50-pound bag of feed, is because I had feed back here, stored back here, because I had nowhere to put it. And so some of it spilled, like quite a bit of it. I would say maybe almost a whole bag. But these guys are doing pretty good. We haven't lost one, and we're gonna process these guys in about 2 weeks. I was recently on a podcast, the Permaculture Voices podcast. Now, I first heard about this podcast before we moved here, I worked in an office. I remember, I think it was about 3 years ago, we were really looking into starting a little homestead and kind of looking into what we want to do as far as like grow food, raise pastured meat birds. And I found this podcast called Permaculture Voices. I remember it being in my office, just working away and listening to this podcast. I would listen to on the way to work, listen to it on the way home. And they had just like different farmers, different people like growing food and just talking about their experiences and how they're doing it. And I think that's actually the first time I heard about Justin Rhodes. I think he was on his podcast. So just to think, like, just a few years ago, I was sitting in my office listening to this podcast and just feeling inspired by everyone that's talking on this podcast and just hearing everyone's story and how they're doing things, how they're growing food. And fast forward till now, I'm on that podcast talking and sharing my experience raising pastured meat birds. I just think that's like so like surreal for me, just to be a part of it. Talking to Diego, who does the podcast, and the podcast is about raising pastured meat birds on a small scale. There was also 5 other farmers doing pastured poultry on small scale, on even like less than an acre, and that's what the podcast is about. It's just so wild how it doesn't seem that long ago that I was listening to other farmers talk about their experiences and feeling inspired by them, and now I'm on that podcast. But if you get a chance, I will put a link down in the show notes of that podcast. You can check it out if you want. So those are some apple cores and apple like stuff that we had that Lorraine's been busy making some apple cider vinegar, applesauce, apple butter. So that's what's leftovers. And so we're just feeding them to their chickens and letting them go at it. But we appreciate you guys watching. We have our camera fixed and let's keep at it. Let's keep doing it. And thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time.
bum bum bum.